Joining us now with reaction is Oklahoma Senator, the great Markwayne Mullin, friend of the show. Markwayne, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So,
hey, Sean.
We're seeing these negotiations play out, and are Democrats coming to the table? Are Democrats seeing the light? Are Democrats seeing the polling? And are they being honest about really wanting to secure the border, or are they just playing games here?
They're playing games. They see the polling for sure. I mean, your polling had 8 out of 10. The polling I've seen is 70% of Americans, regardless of Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, want the border secured. But they're playing politics is all they're doing. It's all for show because they can't message against this. I mean, Sean, what's your message? We have completely fumbled the last 3 years on the border, and now all of a sudden it's important to us. No American believes that they're actually strong on the border. You put Kamala Harris as your czar over the border and she's never been to it, that's a problem. The optics of it is awful. So they are just, it's just a shell game showing that they're trying to fight so they can blame it on extreme as this is the words that our Savior Schumer said. MAGA Republicans, extremists are holding up a deal here. There is no deal to be made. Even if we did have a deal today, it would take 3 days to even think about getting it on paper, and then it would take another 3 days for us to even go through it in the Senate. So there's no chance this can even possibly be done if they struck one tonight, that it can be done before Christmas.
Well, in the meantime, Senator, what is the administration, the commander in calamity and all of his cohort, what are they doing to actually stem the tide of migrants? Today, CBP temporarily shut down 2 international railway crossings in Eagle Pass and El Paso to redeploy the personnel to help Border Patrol process migrants. Bill Malugin, that's straight from him, our reporter at the border. Real world impact, international commerce stops in those spots to speed up processing of illegals. Oh, and let's remind everybody that the Biden administration took a victory lap after Title 42 ended in May, when the numbers temporarily dropped, saying their comprehensive plan was working.
Well, Dagan, what you're seeing here is a complete touch of loss of reality here. I think I used these numbers last time on your show that during the Obama administration, there was 21,000 people every year claiming asylum, and they had claimed it at that time as a national emergency. Now, as Sean said at the beginning of the show, there's 12,000, roughly 12,000 a day claiming asylum. That means that we're hitting that number every other day. Here's the ugly number that they're not telling you. The Border Patrol agents all are assigned sectors. Most of the sectors are not even secure after the first hour or hour and a half that they go on, that they go to work, because they flood them with so many migrants at the beginning of each shift that they have to use the rest of the time for humanitarian aid, which means they're processing the illegals, which means that entire sector is wide open for fentanyl to come flying into our country. This has been going on for a long time, and they're doing nothing. The administration is doing nothing about it. If they were really serious about engaging in the border, they would have done this a long time ago. We had messed up, Republicans, as saying we had messed up trying to negotiate with Schumer and kind of find out he's just a puppet, because who we really need to be negotiating with is some staffer at the White House, because Biden's not actually engaging either, but we're finally starting to engage with staff at the White House, and we're moving someplace. We're getting a little bit of progress, but nowhere near where we need to be. We are way off actually having meaningful border security. And I can tell you, Dagan, we are not. Republicans are not going to budge on this. We will either have a secure border that brings the numbers actually down, and by secure border, we know that they're not going to build a wall. But if we can stem the flow of illegals by simply changing the asylum process, then we will be excited about having that number drop by 70%. And I think that's actually doable.
You know, Senator, as a lot of people are following what's happening on the border, they look to Congress and go, Congress is dysfunctional. You guys can't get your act together. And I always point out, you can't cut a deal with a group of senators or House members that don't want to secure the border. And I think this truly has underscored the point that Democrats have Republicans that are like, let's fix the problem. And they're running for the hills. They do not want to fix this problem. They do not want to sit down and figure out real solutions to stem the flow. This is the policy that they actually want. And I think it's important for Americans to understand what's happening. If you don't like the border, you have to not like Democrats, because this is what they want to have happen in Arizona and Texas and California.
Right. And Sean, and some Republicans are wanting to keep these things separate. They want Ukraine, Israel, and the border separate. There's no way we'll ever be able to negotiate that deal. The art of negotiating is trying to bring everybody to the table that has some interest in the piece of pie, and then trying to negotiate how that pie is going to be divided up. Right now, we feel like this is the best opportunity for us to have true, meaningful immigration reform. Remind you, the last time this was done was in 1985. Reagan was in office and Mitch McConnell was a freshman senator. That's how long ago this was. So if we're actually going to think that this can be done, this is important to the White House, meaning the Ukraine aid is important. Obviously, the Israel aid is important to everybody. But border, they don't care about. However, this would be a political favor for them if they could actually do something about it. And the White House wants to do something about it on the campaign side. It's the extreme Democrats like Chuck Schumer that doesn't want to do anything about it. He's going to get reelected either way. There's no guarantee Biden's going to get reelected. He needs anything that can possibly be good for America, because everything else he has done since he's been in office has been absolutely disastrous.
Senator, after taking their sweet time and allowing Houthi rebels to attack multiple U.S. vessels, other vessels, Secretary Lloyd Austin announcing that the United States will join forces with 10 other countries to safeguard the Red Sea. They're several days late and millions of dollars short, as oil giant BP has announced it will be halting all shipments of oil through the Red Sea, blaming the deteriorating security situation. And BP, not the only shipping company, 10 other shipping giants are considering or have already paused routes throughout the region. The root in all of this, Senator, is, of course, Iran. And the Houthi rebels are, number one, they have power in terms of missiles that other proxies of Iran don't. They're the only ones with medium-range ballistic missiles, the only ones to fire anti-ship ballistic missiles. And as we watch today, everything that they do, if it drives up the price of oil, that just puts more money in Iran's coffers and gives them more money to sponsor terror.
Right, and Dagan, one thing we know for sure is that every time you shoot a rocket, it leaves a footprint. We know exactly where it came from. It wouldn't take very long for the United States to immediately start firing back to Yemen, because that's where the Houthis are operating out of, Yemen. Mind you, that strait that they're talking about, that they're shooting back and forth at ships, is only 18 miles wide between Yemen and Djibouti. And so it's not a big area. We have ships there. We have capabilities in Djibouti. We have a base there that could immediately fire back. And believe me, peace through strength is what rebels and terrorists understand. They know that if that it's going to come back and bite them, they will quit. If we had Trump in office, zero chance this would be taking place. What's happening is the Biden administration is afraid that they're going to ruffle the feathers of Iran and they might retaliate. Why are we afraid of Iran? Because we know Iran is backing the Houthis without question. The Houthis wouldn't have this if it wasn't for Iran giving it to them. We need to be practicing peace through strength, and that's one thing that Trump did very well. People were scared of him because they knew that he would come back. If you kick us first, he's going to come back and punch you in the face and knock you on the ground and kick your teeth out.
Senator Markwayne Mullin, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. I wish you a Merry Christmas as well as your family. And if there's any, this is a time for miracles. Maybe there's a miracle in the Senate where you guys get a deal that secures the border. We could only hope. Senator Markwayne Mullin, thank you for being here.
Thanks, brother. Merry Christmas to you guys.
Merry Christmas.